I think we're ready for a reflection, Rick.
Okay. So, yeah, I've been thinking about what I can say to um, cover a lot of the things that I've been thinking and feeling lately. And like a lot of times, I feel like other people have said it better before me. So I wanted to read a couple of poems. But first, I did want to mention too that you know we are in this area in is of Southern California. We are on the unceded land of the Tongva and Gabrielino people, and I think it's something to be able to um, understand and remember every time we do have these kind of meetings that there are still people who uh, live in the land that that they never left, but the the land left them in a certain respect. So the first poem that I wanted to read is by somebody who just in the last couple of years passed away. Gentleman named Lawrence Ferlinghetti, and one of the things that really hit me when I was young is being able to visit City Lights bookstore in San Francisco, which he started, and he was very active in not only publishing new writers, but actually helping them legally, like he did with Allen Ginsberg and Howe. Uh, so I wanted to read one of the poems that he wrote based on a poem by Khalil Gibran called "Pity the Nation." Pity the nation whose people are sheep and whose shepherds mislead them. Pity the nation whose leaders are liars, whose sages are silenced, and whose bigots haunt the airwaves. Pity the nation that rises not its voice except to praise conquerors and acclaim the bully as hero, and aims to rule the world by force and by torture. Pity the nation that knows no other language but its own and no other culture but its own. Pity the nation whose breath is money and sleeps the sleep of the too well fed. Pity the nation. Oh, pity the people who allow their rights to erode and their freedoms to be washed away. My country, tears of thee, sweet land of liberty.
Thank you, Rick.
I did have one other poem that I wanted to
Oh,
read.
I'm sorry, you're not done.
No.
Go.
Um, um, and because I didn't want to leave this on a note of um, sorrow. And I was reading a few weeks ago one of my favorite authors, Alice Walker,
Mm.
and she wrote a poem that I think is the flip side of that idea, and it's called "Calling All Grandmothers." We have to live differently, or we will die in the same old ways. Therefore, I call on all grandmothers everywhere on the planet to rise and take your place in the leadership of the world. Come out of the kitchen, out of the fields, out of the beauty parlors, out of the television. Step forward and assume the role which you were created to lead humanity to health, happiness, and sanity. I call on all the grandmothers of Earth and every person who possesses the grandmother spirit of respect for life and protection of the young to rise and lead. The life of our species depends on it. And I call on all men of Earth to gracefully and gratefully stand aside and let them do so.
Mm.
So,
Thank you.
yep.
Okay, I think we're ready for our speaker. Mike and Erica both going to be speaking here.
We
Yeah.
are.
Yes. You want me to start us off, Erica?
Please.
Great.
Okay.
If we can just have just a little bit of silence to kind of take in what we've just heard and center ourselves. So Erica's going to do most of the heavy lifting today, and that's only appropriate because she does most of the heavy lifting with Safe Haven. I want to start off just with a little bit of framing. There's a phrase that it's just more and more becoming central to my faith, and it's the phrase "among us." In the 12th chapter of Exodus, the author talks about the alien, the stranger living among us, but then the next line is, there shall be one law for both the native and the stranger. And to me, the words among us is about no one being an other. And so what we like to talk about is we talk not instead of people, those who are homeless or those who are jobless or those who have cancer or those who are grieving. We say those among us who are homeless, those among us who are unemployed, those among us who have cancer, those among us who are grieving, those among us who are rejoicing. And the idea is that when we think of each other as an other, then we objectify each other. We, in very subtle ways, dehumanize each other. I really try to think about the MAGA people among us, because that helps me remember that this is a part of us. And in my tradition, Christ's command to love our neighbor as ourselves. Again, one law, there's one law, and there is a law of love. And to me, the key to what is happening and has been happening at All Saints with the Safe Haven program is that this is not a ministry to, this is not the people of All Saints Church who have addresses and, drive to church or whatever, ministering to these other poor, unfortunate people. It is like, no, we have members among us in our community who are homeless, who are housing insecure. So what are we going to do as a community for those people among us? And that is what really has driven this from the beginning, is recognizing that this isn't a ministry to. This is a ministry of people in our community among us right now who are challenged in a specific way. And what that also means is people who are challenged in that specific way also minister to other people in the community who might be challenged or rejoicing in a different way. And I think one of the things that has made this program so successful is that even when people move into housing, we all stay together as part of the same community. And so it's not just sort of, okay, we're done with you, see you later. It's wonderful. Like, we know we're still in community together. And so, now you're people among us who are housed, and we continue to work with each other. So
Well,
what I'm wondering if we can just even do is think about someone or maybe a group of people or a class of people that is challenging for you, that it is tempting for you to other, and see if you can just in your mind just sort of say the blank among us, the blank among us. In my daily prayers, I have a list of people in addition to sick, dying, grieving, whatever. I have a list of people I'm in conflict with and people that I might tend to other. And I find that as I pray for them and pray for God to love them through me, it becomes more and more impossible for me to do anything but love them. Still get challenged by them, not necessarily like them, but to love them. And to me, that is the blessing of Safe Haven. And really, there's no one who embodies that theology more than Erica. So Erica, I just want to turn it over to you at this point.
Mike, thank you so much. Before we talk about Safe Haven, I think it's important to talk about All Saints values. All Saints values are radical inclusion, meaning whoever you are, you're welcome. Courageous justice, pursue truth relentlessly. Joyful spirituality. We believe that God is love. and ethical stewardship, which is the healthy, sustainable development. So how did this all start? When, as you know, when COVID struck, homeless shelters were required to institute social distancing, which required that they reduce their populations by 75%, pushing many unhoused people out onto the streets with no place to sleep at all. A lot of them in Pasadena, about 60, ended up on the south side of the All-Saints campus, which, as many of you know, is an open campus. And truthfully, it was a mess. All sorts of nefarious activities were going on. There was on-site cooking, there was vandalism, there was drug use, there was a rumored bicycle theft ring, and a lot more. Our neighbors were understandably upset. The city was upset. It was really a mess. And so we promised our neighbors and the city that we would clean it up. So how did we do that? In response, we turned to Union Station Homeless Services, which you may know was founded by All Saints 50 years ago and is the preeminent provider of homeless services in what they call the SPA 3 area, which is the San Gabriel Valley. Our rector and senior clergy worked with people at Union Station, leaning on their expertise. They ultimately created this program called Safe Haven Bridge to Housing, which follows the Housing First model, which says, rather than make people jump through many hoops to get in and qualify for housing, get people into housing and their lives will change positively. It has a 97% success rate. We work hand in hand with the City of Pasadena Housing Department, and it has been incredibly supportive of us and this program. Once the program plan was developed, the city agreed to fund certain costs: a dedicated Union Station case manager, housing navigator, a porta potty, and some other minor expenses, power washing, and some other things. Union Station experts determined that 12 participants would be a manageable size for the program. All Saints established a committee of volunteer parishioners, of which I am one, Risa, is one, a number of whom work in homeless services and were knowledgeable in this area. And it was our job to implement the startup of this program. So of the 60 people who were hanging out on the south side of the church, an initial 12 participants were selected from a crowd based on their cooperation and their interest. The other people were asked to and did eventually leave the property. Not the smoothest transition, but it worked. And All Saints was at that point very fortunate to receive a grant from the Pasadena Community Foundation to acquire bicycle lockers. I don't know if you've ever seen them. They're those big green things that you see on the Gold Line stations. And those lockers enable participants to safely store their belongings. And they have the added benefit of helping caseworkers transport participants to appointments at various agencies and healthcare facilities. This way they're not worried about their things being stolen. They don't have a grocery cart full of stuff to take around. They have a locker where they can safely lock it. They have the key, and I have a master key to get people in and out if they lose their keys. All Saints worked with Union Station and the city to develop the program structure and operating guidelines. A 12-point covenant was developed. Each participant must agree to these rules and sign the covenant. It includes such things as no drinking, no drugs, no fighting, no weapons, things like that. The successful individual then is assigned a locker and receives a key on a lanyard, which they can put around their neck, so hopefully they don't lose it. Also included in this is mandatory attendance at a weekly community meeting. However, that meeting can be missed if one has work or doctor's appointments or a housing appointment or something like that, as long as they notify the management team prior to the meeting. At the regular meeting, as the regular meetings took shape, we invited the neighbors from the HOA at the adjacent condominiums who were so concerned when it was a mess on the south side to attend the meeting so that they could observe what was going on, participate in the experience, and understand what we were doing and how we were doing it. It was deemed necessary for us to obtain a minor conditional use permit. So we worked with the planning department, and we were fortunate to have a former Safe Haven member who had been housed already speak on our behalf at the hearing for the planning department. In addition, the HOA president for the neighboring condos, who had prior to this been very upset, wrote a letter and then spoke on our behalf at that meeting, urging the planning department to grant the conditional use permit. To our good fortune, it was granted with some conditions. For instance, we cannot make changes to the covenant without prior approval from the city. The 12 participants can only set up their tents and sleep in city designated areas. The program is designed, to give priority to unhoused individuals who are from Pasadena or who have been experiencing homelessness in Pasadena for some period of time, usually at least 6 months. At our Thursday regular community meetings, those in attendance sign in. They receive a sack lunch provided by Union Station. We discuss first the events that are going on at the church in the coming week so that they're aware of when there are going to be lots of people around, understanding that if there's a large memorial service or a concert or something, people who are attending may not know who Safe Haven people are, and just to give them a heads up as to what's happening. After that, the case managers and housing navigators from Union Station meet one-on-one with the Safe Haven participants. After that, then those who are interested in Safe Haven have an opportunity to meet with us one-on-one. Union Station folks have an opportunity to look them up in the master database that tracks unhoused people and see what documents they might need. The Safe Haven Management Group meets later that afternoon by Zoom to review each individual's case, review any covenant violations of Safe Haven participants, discuss any disciplinary actions that might need to take place, and those who are interested in the program are placed on a waiting list to which we refer when we have openings. Those who regularly attend those Thursday meetings are given priority when we do have openings. To give you an example of these Thursday meetings and how they go, yesterday's meeting, we gave out 21 sack lunches, had 5 or 6 people who weren't able to get them because we ran out, and we added 5 people to our waiting list. So it's a good place for people to come to get to know them and for them to get to know us. And regular attendance in that meeting is a good thing for people. We get to know them, they get to know us, and we understand that they're truly interested. There are people who come once for the sack lunch and never come back again, but there are those who come regularly. Procedures were established for what happens when a rule is broken. The offending participant is given a verbal warning first, and then if the infraction continues, he or she receives a reminder letter. Thereafter, a series of warning letters outlined with consequences outlined follow. And one is allowed to receive 3 warning letters, and the next step then is a termination letter. If a participant is terminated, he or she has given 2 weeks to clean out locker contents. The notification informs them that if their items remain in their locker after 2 weeks, their items will be thrown away. Further, we ask them to return the locker key when they clean their stuff out by just leaving the key in the locker and locking the locker. They can also turn it into the All-Saints office if that's easier for them. Through the program, 12 people are provided with a safe interim place to sleep and store essential items so that they can be placed into permanent housing. Each person is connected to a caseworker and a housing navigator to gain access to medical, mental health, and other resources, as well as to navigate the very, very complicated process towards getting permanent sustained housing. Getting qualified to become housed isn't easy. There is a lot of paperwork that goes on, and there are all sorts of hurdles that people have to deal with. Even though we follow the housing first model, there are still things that people need to do. A lot of paperwork. For instance, one step at a time, we work to help people qualify. We've been able to even assist some of our participants resolve some immigration issues so that they qualify. And that is probably one of the most major stumbling blocks in getting people housed. Each person needs to have a California ID, a social security card, a birth certificate. Actually, Union Station has an individual whom they employ who just gets birth certificates for people. Proof of income, proof of homelessness, interestingly. And proof of income can be Social Security, it can be general relief, it can be anything. They need citizenship papers, and they need to have any prior legal issues resolved. All Saints has a free legal clinic in connection with public that's provided at the public counsel, rather, that's provided at the Jackie Robinson Center on the second Saturday of every month. So if you know someone who has some legal issues, tomorrow they can go to the Jackie Robinson Center between 9 and 12 and get absolutely free legal services, which is a terrific thing. Getting all these things pulled together for people is hard, especially the longer that people have been on the streets. It's very, very difficult. Not all unhoused people have the patience or the desire or, frankly, the mental health to withstand that long, arduous process. The Union Station team is really caring, very dedicated, and they don't give up. They're incredible, and they do everything that they can to help people in a really positive way. It's hard. People break the rules. People leave and they take their locker keys with them. People lose their locker keys all the time. Sometimes there are joyful moments, though, small and large. Parishioners and friends have regularly knit caps, scarves, things like that keep people warm, especially right now. That's really terrific for people. In addition, parishioners have been very generous about donating socks, blankets, jackets, clothing, and also people who get housed are able to select from furniture, from items that have been donated by parishioners, such as kitchenware, furniture, televisions, small appliances, silverware, cups, glasses, all kinds of items. And the look on the faces of someone who finally gets into housing, and then when we could drive up with all of the things that they've selected and get them situated in their house, is the great reward for us, is seeing that person who's part of our community finally take a deep breath and relax. Even better, a person who was a graduate of our program got housed after 20-something years on the street and decided to put her life back together. The housing first model really works. That the model that says if you put someone into housing, they will change their lives. This woman who had tremendous alcohol problems got housed, and after about 2 months, sent me a text and said, "I think I need to work. Can we talk about that?" So we talked, and we stay connected because those people are part of our community, as Mike said. And so she got a job cleaning toilets in the Rose Bowl, and worked her way up from cleaning toilets in the basement of the Rose Bowl up the tiers of the Rose Bowl until she started managing the suites at the top of the Rose Bowl. And she has gone from being a toilet washer in the basement to being a supervisor, and has been put on their employer's 401k plan. That's a real success story as far as we're concerned. She has become a model for other people in the Safe Haven program. And she cheerleads for Safe Haven a lot, talking with unhoused people on the streets and gets them to come over. We met a young man yesterday who's been homeless for 7 months, who came over yesterday and who we've just put on our waiting list, and we think we'll be able to put into the Safe Haven program next week. So it's great to have a cheerleader out there who stays connected to our community. Since its inception, Safe Haven has enrolled 90 individuals, and to date, 32 people have been housed in permanent supportive housing. So about a third of the people get housed. The rest, as I mentioned earlier, don't have my father would have said, gumption to stick it out and get through the long, arduous process. It is hard. But we're happy that we've been able to get 32 people into permanent housing. And there are 4 individuals who are very close to being moved into housing. I'm sure that you're aware that there's a senior affordable housing project on the corner of Orange Grove and Fair Oaks, where Church's Fried Chicken used to be, that's about to open. And it looks like 4 of our individuals are going to be, they've cleared all the hurdles. They're doing the last Hurdle, which is for the property management company. And it looks like they're all going to be able to move into that project as soon as it opens. And it's a lovely project, and they're so thrilled. And we have furniture and other donated items ready to move in for them when they can do that. Another thing is going on with Safe Haven and at All Saints as well. We have worked to make Monday mornings really, really a special time. We try to offer radical welcome and hospitality at all times that builds trust, so that people will then come and take advantage of the supportive services that we're able to offer. So Monday mornings, we provide showers, typically between 25 and 30, hot food, typically about 40 hot meals, sack lunches, about 20 or so. There are mental health workers who are on site every Monday morning. There are case management people and housing navigators. We provide free haircuts, and at least once a month, but more often usually, LA County rolls in a mobile clinic that provides free medical and mental health care for unhoused people at no charge whatsoever. And we've been able to establish a continuum of care with people who regularly come to see the clinic, so the doctors know them and they prescribe medications. They drop medications off for them at the All Saints office. They contact me and say, so I need to give a shot to so-and-so. Can you arrange for him to meet me on Tuesday at 4 p.m.? And so we're able, with that continuum of care, we've seen an improvement in the health of the people who are involved, not just with Safe Haven, but who take advantage of the services at All Saints. And it's been a great joy. And we're very, very grateful to the county for all the things that they do. In addition, we're incredibly grateful to the city of Pasadena's support in general for Safe Haven, and specifically for 2 years of paying for the Showers of Hope for every Monday. And then recently we received a grant from Catherine Barger to fund another year of showers. Just to give you a sense of statistics, in 2023, we provided 1,298 showers, 386 haircuts, 2,533 meals, 31 people saw mental health professionals, 84 people saw a doctor, and that's for a complete medical review and history, not just a brief thing. And to date, this year, we've been providing these services at an even higher rate than we did last year. So we're pleased at how our program is going, and pleased that more people are coming to take advantage of it, and that we're making more friendships with people. One thing that we're very excited about is that the city housing department has asked us to host a safe parking program in our north parking lot that would provide spots for 25 individuals who could sleep in their vehicles. The program will be operated by the Showers of Hope, which successfully operates other sites in Los Angeles, particularly Mike and I visited one in Glassell Park that's been working very successfully. So from 7 p.m. to 6:30 a.m., secure parking with security guards, case managers, and dinner will be provided for people, along with a porta potty and charging services and some other things. In addition, a mental health worker is 15 minutes away at any time. So we're able to provide another level of care and safety for those members of our community. All of these services support our values and our desire to treat everyone as we wish to be treated. And I think that's the most important thing about this. As Mike said, we're all one. Most importantly, I want people to understand that this is a portable program that can, with really not very much work, be established and maintained anywhere. I know that the city of Pasadena Housing Department is really hopeful to have more safe havens. And I hope that some of you will consider or talk other people into considering putting on a safe haven program. And I hope that you'll consider just coming by and visiting us on Monday mornings from 9 to 1, or on Thursday mornings at 10:30. Come shadow us, see what we do, and know that I and everyone at All Saints is willing to share all of the information to make this work, all of the paperwork that's involved. You wouldn't have to do it. We'll give it to you, and you just change our name to your name. It's not difficult. You just have to have a couple of dedicated volunteers to implement the program. And I really want to be a cheerleader for other people doing this and setting it up. I'm fortunate to be retired. I've been retired since 2016. I was looking for something to do after a career of managing large international law firms, and this has been way more interesting than managing large international law firms, I assure you. So that's kind of the safe haven story. Mike, did I leave anything out? Risa, did I leave anything out?
I don't know if you left anything out. There's some things I might just sort of want to
Please
sort of add. One of the things, and I just like the way this is set up, and we cannot thank Union Station Homeless Services enough.
Never.
None of this would be happening without Union Station and their expertise. And part of what it's so wonderful having a partner like them, because my experience, and I've been doing this for about 28 years, is that churches have huge hearts, but that doesn't always translate. In fact, it often doesn't translate into being good service providers. And so what this allowed us to do is to sort of give the people who know what they're doing, have them design the program. We provide the space. We're sort of there day to day. So, Erica is there 7 days a week. And it's clearly a joy for her. And it's also just amazing. Thank you, Erica, for that. But it's, right. No, and it is. And so, Sean, what's Sean's last name? I want to say Sean
Morrissey.
Sean Morrissey. When we were just starting the program, one of the things he said is, your program has to be at least as flexible as the people's lives are chaotic. And that's really I think that's a big part of the heart of it is recognizing that when you're housing insecure and you've been like, I don't get a good night's sleep, I'm cranky the next day. Talk about not getting a good night's sleep for months or even years. And then also having just like to worry about where am I going to bathe and things like that. There's a lot of chaos in our lives when we're homeless.
Especially for women. It's
oh my God,
dangerous
yes.
on the streets for women.
It is. Most women on the streets have been assaulted. And multiple times. So, when we talk about the covenant, it really is a covenant and not a contract. A contract is you violated it, broken your covenant is no, we listen, we're in community with each other. So the other thing I want to make sure everyone knows is this is designed to be portable, as Erica said, and that's not just if you're in Pasadena.
No.
And in fact, I would really love it if, faith communities around the country would look at this model. We're really fortunate that the city of Pasadena has an amazing housing director, Bill Huang, and Bill's staff that have been really, encouraging of us and helping us out. But wherever you are, we'd absolutely love to help you start one of these programs where you are. And then the other thing that's really exciting that is happening for us is, a couple things. First of all, we have, members, one in particular, who actually was never in the Safe Haven program, but he was sort of the first person that we got into housing. And it became, when I got here, this guy, Bob, was sleeping in my parking space. Now there's the lockers in the parking space. And I remember one night it was raining and I'm just like, I couldn't sleep because I knew Bob was asleep in my parking space. And so we actually cleared out a room, rekeyed it, gave him a key, and then we worked to kind of get him into housing, and he's been in housing, and he's one of our ushers every Sunday, and he is around all the time. Yep. And this is what I saw happen when we did, we had a different kind of program when I was in St. Louis, but people, they became parts of the community, and that wasn't the goal. But it was a testament to people who, this is where they feel at home. And even people who have had to leave the program, we still see them around. And because a lot of them sort of feel like, no, this is, they're home, yet they're just not ready for whatever, to go through this program and this bridge to housing. And then finally, what this is doing for our congregation is there's something really almost viral about this. When we realize, oh yeah, we can do more than writing a check or going over and volunteering and serving a meal. This is about relationship. And so now we're just beginning to have exploratory conversations about, do we build affordable housing on our property? Because the main barrier to housing people in Safe Haven is the lack of housing available. There wouldn't even need to be a safe haven if we had enough housing. And so, we're working with the city, we're working with various other folks. We've got a great team together. Erica's on it, Risa's on it. We don't know what's going to happen with it, but we're starting to ask that question. And what it is it's not like, oh, we're a church, we should do this. There's not sort of a feeling of obligation. And it's like, no, it's like, wow, this is awesome. What more can we do? What do we get to do? How do we continue to grow this joy? And so that's really what we're doing. Risa, is there anything you'd like to add as senior warden?
Hi there. Just one more quick thing. It also has a almost reverse effect. We do have members of our parish that maybe do otherize our siblings, our unhoused siblings, and it gives them an opportunity to interact, the two groups to interact with one another and to debunk all of the prejudices that would come up or the inbuilt prejudices that people have. So it's been both ways. I've known members of the parish that have really warmed their hearts and seen our unhoused group dedicated and devoted and members of the community, and it works both ways, not just one way.
Risa, you're right. Recently, I saw someone who was really opposed to our doing Safe Haven walk by one of our transgender Safe Haven members and go, "Hey man, how you doing? Haven't seen you in a while. You've been okay?" And I was like, what do you know? This works.
Nothing is more converting of the heart than relationship. That's why, Brian Stevenson says it's all about proximity. It's all about proximity.
Yeah. We were very fortunate this past Monday. We had our annual memorial for unhoused people who died in the streets. And we had quite a few people there. It was an interfaith. We didn't really have a service. People did readings. And it was a very, very meaningful moment where people, unhoused or formerly unhoused people, read the names after other people had done prayers and readings of the people who had died in the streets, while other unhoused people, members of Safe Haven, lit candles on the altar while that was going on. A really poignant moment. And then when it was all over, we invited everyone to the church hall to have a dinner, and we had a huge dinner. I think we had more volunteers really than participants.
Yeah.
There's so much enthusiasm at All-Saints, but we had 4 or 5 different entrees from which people could select. We had a whole room full of desserts. We had big things of macaroni and cheese and salads and tamales, all kinds of different things. And people were really happy and we were able to give people each 2, 3, 4 meals to take with them to either keep themselves if they have a place where they might be able to warm them up, or share with their friends. And it always warms my heart to be able to give food. I'm about feeding people, so be able to give people food and nourishment where they can get a good meal, not just a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, which really makes people feel welcome. And people members of the unhoused community sit down with parishioners, and anybody just sit together. And it's fun to stand back and watch the interplay in that room. It's a great, joyous event. I hope that next year you'll be able to join us for that event. You'd consider it. It's really a wonderful event. So I think it's maybe time for questions.
Yeah, I think Stephen's got one.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. What a wonderful description and a wonderful program. I've got several questions, but I'll ask them in sequence after other people ask their questions. My first one is to get a little better picture of the physical layout. You've talked about lockers, you've talked about showers. I I'm having trouble visualizing whether All Saints provides temporary housing on your campus, and then where is the permanent housing? Just give us more of a picture of all that.
Sure. Each participant is given a tent, a cot, and a sleeping bag. And the city has indicated certain areas that are outdoors but undercover where people may pitch their tents. And so each person in the Safe Haven program does sleep outdoors unless now that the bad weather shelter is open again, they're able to go to the bad weather shelter like during yesterday's ridiculous thunderstorm. And so there are like outdoor corridors open on one side, building on the other side, roof overhead, where people can sleep and stay dry. And they do get tents, cots, and sleeping bags. Then the permanent housing into which people move may be a variety of different places. The housing navigators and caseworkers from Union Station are aware of all of the various projects and housing opportunities in our area, and different people qualify or have interest for different things, and they get them into whatever slots are available in an appropriate place. Most recently, we've had great success moving people into the Salvation Army Hope Center, which is a new residential facility that was built on Walnut Street at Catalina, and quite a few people have moved into that. Again, as I mentioned earlier, we're getting ready to move 4 people into Heritage Square, which is an affordable senior project that the city has built on the corner of Orange Grove and Fair Oaks, where Church's Fried Chicken used to be. So the permanent housing isn't in one particular place. It depends on what's open and maybe for what people qualify. For instance, if someone is a veteran, they may have different and more opportunities than someone who isn't, things like that. So we just have to know what's available. And the Union Station team is incredibly skilled, capable, knowledgeable, and I was going to say aggressive, but that has a negative tone. But they're really great at keeping at things and making sure that they work. Mm-hmm. So what's your next question, Steve?
Could I introduce myself to this a minute, or acknowledge myself to one thing that I've observed? I attend a men's group on the All-Saints campus on Monday evenings, and I forget when I first began to notice this, but there's several men who setting up their tents and sleeping bags on the covered walkways there, and one thing that struck me about it is they're just they're friendly, they're respectful, they don't leave messes. I mean, it's just a nice thing to see.
It's a community. It's become community,
yeah, right.
And that's the great thing about it.
Yeah,
and they protect each other. If an interloper wanders in, they're like, "Hey, you don't belong here, man. Don't leave him alone. Get out of here." That kind of stuff. They watch out for each other.
Yeah, I also heard you mention that Heritage Square is a permanent housing option. Are they actually taking people in at this time?
It hasn't opened yet. It should be. The rain delayed the final construction things by a couple of weeks. So in a couple of weeks, but they're taking applications, and there are 3 or 4 different stages of applications that people need to go through. Background checks. Then they have to financial checks. Then they have to go through property management check is the final step. So the people that we're working with are in that final step of going through and hoping that they'll successfully get through that property management clearance, and then they'll be able to move in as soon as it's open. And it should be, from what I'm hearing, about 2 weeks that'll open up.
I'm really, really impressed, mostly with the whole concept of being a covenant, not a contract, of getting to know each other, having people who are in the programs attend the church and mix with people, and vice versa. That whole thing to me is extraordinarily exciting. and making people more conscious. And it seems to me becoming more conscious of the homelessness problem of the world, especially when our government is making people homeless in Gaza. And I love your t-shirt, Erica.
Thank
My
you.
question is, a lot of churches, most churches in the country are losing membership and therefore losing funds and therefore losing their churches. And I'm wondering if this model can show other churches, look, you don't want to lose your people, you become relevant. And this is a way of becoming relevant. I mean, people joining and being part of the church community because you're living as Christians.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll just sort of say certainly why, we're actually growing as a church at All Saints. And it's, over the last 6 months, our Sunday attendance has, if you combine both in person and online, has gone from a little over 800 to a little under 1,000. And that's, and a lot of that's online, but I think a lot of it is people recognize, and so much of this is the history of All Saints that way predates me, is that this is a community. I mean, like, this from George, this is a community that actually lives out our values. And we do it incredibly imperfectly, and that's okay. But I think it's, the other piece of it is, like, I had the bishop who ordained me, Hayes Rockwell, always said that, churches that are only open one day a week should start paying taxes. We have a tax exempt status, not because the Constitution wants to privilege religion, but because there's a sense that churches provide a need to the community, and for the common good. And frankly, that's the very least we should do. And so, yeah, and there are things like one of the things we're looking at with, are we going to build housing on the campus? Is there ground lease revenue that we can get? Because, income is going down. The younger people that are coming in, they are saddled with lots of educational debt, lots of consumer debt. Most of them never think they'll be able to buy a house, and so they can't build equity. A bunch of them are a couple paychecks away from homelessness themselves. So, we have to find new ways of generating income, but we need to do it in ways that are consonant with our mission. And that's one of the things I really love about this is just, I'm a big believer that money follows mission. If you chase the money, it's not going to work. If you chase the mission, enough money will follow. And I think that's what we're finding. We had someone give a bequest to All Saints Church for Safe Haven, $100,000 of it for Safe Haven. And that's money that never would have come. We had a wonderful gift during COVID because someone found out that we were doing this, of $25,000 just, to help with the church because of Safe Haven. The Pasadena Community Foundation gave us, what was it, 25 or 30,000?
25,000 for the lockers.
25,000 for the lockers, because we said we're doing this, and they said we want to help. So I'm a big believer that if you concentrate on the mission, the money will follow.
And
Okay.
Catherine Barger just gave us a
Right.
$75,000 grant to keep the showers going for another year.
Right.
Okay, we have Rick and Randy and Steve have their hands up.
Mhm.
Go ahead,
So,
Rick.
Erica and Mike, thank you very much for talking to us about the program, and your opening framed what I really think religion is for me and how I express it, because I've always thought that, and I don't know when this hit me, maybe when I was a altar boy. It was love thy neighbor is a really hard job, and it's a task, and there is nothing easy about following a path. There's a writer, and some people have heard me use this quote before with Austin O'Malley, that practical prayer is more about wearing out the soles of your shoes and wearing out the knees of your trousers. And that's, I don't know how to pray, but I know how to be somewhere, and watching Erica, when we were coming over to set up the September 11th event, and watching Erica with the folks in the program, it was really inspiring. I came by one morning when you guys were doing the drum circle, and first off, I started to play a little bit until I figured out I'm going to throw people off. You don't need somebody like
everyone can drum. You got a heartbeat, you can drum.
Oh yeah,
You got a heartbeat, you can drum. Come on out at 10 o'clock on Saturdays and drum with us.
But that's the thing that's always drawn me to All Saints too. Even back when George was making the church a sanctuary for people. It was important. I want to ask you really quickly about. It seems like Pasadena has been very responsive, the city itself, and it seems like this is a model for a few different organizations to work in concert and in different aspects of helping the unhoused. We know in this group, Anthony Manousis of Making Housing and Community Happen, who are working on the actual, more maybe on the structure and on lease agreements and things
Legally.
like that. Right.
Yeah.
And then you guys are working with the folks on the ground, as it were.
Right.
Are you finding that, is there any place in that process or along the way that either the city of Pasadena can help out with, or there's another part of the puzzle that other groups can be involved with? Because I think all of us want to be involved in a certain way. I want to make sure that if you guys see a need in any certain aspect, that we're covering that and getting that into the minds of people.
Erica, you want to jump into that first, or?
Well, my initial response would be to talk to other people about this model and that it's not so difficult to implement.
Yeah.
And again, I'm available at any time to work with people, but I encourage people. Rick, you've come by and seen it in action. It's not difficult, and I again, we're more than willing to share. I'd be willing to go speak with anyone. And I think encouraging other people, churches or organizations, to provide this service on program on their properties would be the best thing that anybody could do. And I know that the city housing department, Bill Huang and Jenny O'Reilly Jones, Bill says to me all the time, come on, let's get some more people to do this. I've offered my services to go speak to other groups about Safe Haven because honestly, it's just not that hard to do. You have to have a heart and you have to have a couple of volunteers who are willing to do it. But that's the one important thing that's, I think, people can do. And again, it's not hard to do.
Well, and I would say, a big challenge, like this is not so much for us because we're in the Civic Center District. Faith communities that are nestled in residential neighborhoods, it's more challenging. And, the stories that Erica told about Maryland House, about the apartments, I do think there's an opportunity, no matter where you're located, to work with your neighbors and to kind of bring them on board and get them excited. I mean, I think there's, NIMBYism is real, but that also, to me, that's an opportunity for education and community building too. And so, yeah, I would say that. I would also say that I do want to single out one person in a positive way. God rest his soul, John Kennedy, who was our city council member for years and years for the district that All Saints Church is in, and so much. You'll look at a lot of the affordable housing that has been built in Pasadena. It's built in that district. And that's because John Kennedy said, look, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is and do this. And John was incredibly supportive of this. And so, and I think John did a lot working with Bill Huang to move the Pasadena City Council to
Yes.
kind of, in many ways, be the conscience of the council when it comes to dealing with those among us who are homeless. And so I guess, wherever you are, find your allies on your city council. And then just, point to Pasadena. Like Pasadena just passed safe parking. If your municipality doesn't have safe parking, say, hey, if Pasadena can do it, why can't we? Use us.
Mhm.
I think Randy had his hand up.
Thanks very much. I'm going to try and jump back and answer a couple of Steve's questions originally about the lockers and the showers. The lockers, as you might have heard Mike say, he gave up his privilege of having the parking space closest to his office, and there was another paired off parking space there off of our driveway, and that space is now filled with. Erica, how many different lockers?
12.
These are not the high school lockers you might be thinking of.
No.
These are large boxes, about 2.5 foot square and about 5 foot deep or so.
Yes, they will fit a bicycle and a couple of suitcases and a whole bunch of stuff.
Exactly, and people's tents, I assume, and things like that then too
Yes.
during the day.
Cots. Yeah.
So it's really a great space for people to be able to store things. And then as far as the showers are concerned, this is a mobile truck that pulls down that same driveway, which is behind what used to be the rector's house and is now our church offices. And they pull down there every Monday, and I think it's fitted out with 3 or 4 showers.
It's got 4 showers, and they hook up to our water and electrical system.
Right.
And trailers dropped ahead of their staff, and then their staff arrive and provide everything that's needed for a shower: towels, shampoo, conditioner, lotion, razor, toothbrush, toothpaste, everything that they could need. And they set everything up. It works well in many locations. They have a system that works. And if possible, we ask parishioners to especially provide quantities of new underwear and socks. Imagine having not taken a shower for a couple of weeks and finally getting a shower and not having clean underwear to put on. So those are some of the things that we ask people to provide for us that people really appreciate having.
If I can just continue, I did want to ask a question though as well.
Sure.
Erica, I know you are both tremendously generous and tremendously modest about this, but I know that you've also personally supported this with your funds to a great degree. And I guess what I'd wonder is how much of the support for Safe Haven comes from individuals like you who are generous, but not necessarily part of the actual budget. And then how much of this has been budgeted out and is able to be sort of planned ahead of time?
Well, I can answer that question by saying that the housing navigator and the Union Station housing navigator's salary and the porta potty costs and some of those other things related to Safe Haven are covered by the city of Pasadena. The showers, which cost approximately $75,000 a year for 2 years, were covered by COVID funds paid by the city using COVID funds. And then we got a $75,000 grant from Catherine Barger for this year's showers, and we'll be searching for another grant. And her team has already told me that they've put it in the lineup so that hopefully we can get another grant from them to keep the showers going. In terms of food, Mike, you might be, first of all, the Monday food service, which has been a tradition at All-Saints for a long time, is supported by a parishioner who owns a lovely, would you call it high-end deli, Mike?
And we also pay for some of it out of the budget.
And then we pay for, I was going to say, and then the rest is paid for out of our budget or donations. We do ask people to provide non-perishable foods. And not only do we give out hot meals and sack lunches on Mondays, but especially for people who live in SRO housing, who have kitchen facilities that they can use. We provide non-perishable foods, spaghetti, canned vegetables, things of that nature. So parishioners do provide those. So I don't provide that much.
Huh.
Yeah, we
Thanks,
pay for
Erica.
security.
Oh, the security, Mike, you're right. The security is a big cost. And we have reduced the security that we don't have as many dedicated officers there every night, because the security company that we work with also provides the security over at City Hall. So they come over a couple of times a night. And then there are 2 nights a week that are like the hot nights, Friday night and Saturday night. We have an officer there throughout the night. But the need for security has also reduced as this group of people has become community, like we were talking about earlier. And so if someone, as I said, an interloper wanders onto the site, the safe haven people themselves take care of, hey man, you're not supposed to be here, beat it, or don't touch that guy's stuff while he's sleeping, or whatever it is. And it's kind of self-policing, which is the joy of community.
I just want to use this moment to welcome Randy home.
Yay, man.
Yes, here.
Boy, is he still on this? Yeah, he's behind his screen. Thank you. We're going to have Randy with us. Do we know when that is, Rick? Or Randy, when are you coming to join us with your program?
I don't think we've set a date yet.
Okay, but we're very eager to hear about your mission to the Middle East, and glad to see you safe. I want to pick, first I want to say his full name, George Regas. George, we love him so much, we just name him as George. What a spirit that pervades All Saints to this moment, and every value you've all talked about, to my knowledge, was enriched and developed by George Regas. And it is in George Regas's name that we recognized Safe Haven with a George Regas Courageous Peacemaker Award. And on that same occasion, we recognized Anthony Manousis, who has to be doing something worthwhile this morning, or else I'm sure he would be on this screen. My sort of related questions are kind of challenges. I have seen programs around the country in the name of helping the poor that proselytize religious membership, religious beliefs. I'm seeing you shake your heads. So would you address, Erica, you did mention that you announce a calendar of church activities. I think that was in the context so that the individuals knew what was going on in and around the campus. But how have you walked the path of providing these extraordinary services on a religious campus without proselytizing and respecting the values, religious and otherwise?
Well, that's sort of super easy. We've just done it, and I think part of it is that our gospel is love. So yes, we are proselytizing. We're proselytizing love, and we're showing love, and we're receiving love, and we're creating a community of love, and everyone is invited into the community of love, and that's the proselytizing. And it has nothing to do with, do you show up in a service? Do you say a certain name? Do you have a certain theology? It's just like, no, what we're proselytizing is love. And everyone gets to be invited into that. I mean, Erica?
And from my perspective, it's about hospitality. It's about, so many people, unhoused people, come to us on Mondays or on Thursdays and say, oh, do I have to go to Bible study? No. Do I have to go to church? No. I don't? No. But but you're welcome. We're having an Oscar watching party this Sunday. You're welcome to attend any events that we have anytime. Come. I mean, if you want to come to church, of course, but you don't have to. And but you're always welcome to attend. You're always welcome to eat. You're always welcome to have coffee, talk with people. Just come and check it out and see what it's about. If you come to church and you don't like it, leave. There's no requirement.
Right.
We want you to feel at home here, not that you have to go to church every Sunday. And that has made people just sit stunned saying, I don't? Really? Oh, are you sure? Yeah, we're sure. So, and that's more of what I go. I mean, I certainly talk about things like there's going to be a big, for instance, I don't know if I'm sure you all knew Marty Coleman. Marty Coleman passed away recently, and her memorial service is coming up in a couple of weeks. And we let people know things like that because there are a lot of people who come to the campus who won't know. But we also thank you, Mike, March 23rd at 2 p.m. But we also want people to know who passed away and why they were important to our community. And so sometimes you see people attend. They also know that they can go into the receptions and get food to eat if they want, which just about, from my perspective, it's about hospitality.
Hi, everybody. I really appreciate your great work. Thank you so much for sharing with us. I've been in Pasadena every Saturday morning the past couple of months, working out at the Rose Bowl, training for the LA Marathon with the Skid Row Club. Yep. And your resident, Pasadena resident, Judge Craig Mitchell, leads that group. Mm-hmm. Has been providing this running group for about 20 years now, and they get a lot of service. And I've seen, just like when the new people come in and they're supported and you treat them with dignity and give them the integrity they deserve, they just thrive. And so my question is, though, that my personal experience, I've been unemployed since July. I'm an attorney, and I have had such a hard time navigating the process with getting my medical insurance in place through Cover California.
Right.
And I have been treated like a ping pong between Medi-Cal and Cover California. And I'm an attorney and I'm going through this frustration. I can understand how people can lose everything once you have like a major life change happen. In my case, I was severely injured and then I was laid off shortly afterwards. And in my case, they told me it was a glitch in their system that kept me in the Medi-Cal system, and they were pointing fingers at each other. So my question is, do you have people that are helping them get their medical insurance and benefits, and also what is the organization that's helping with the legal services that you're providing?
Erica, why don't you?
Sure. First, yes, the housing navigators and caseworkers at Union Station, and also other places like Friends Indeed and some other organizations help people. Well, the Union Station people help the Safe Haven people, but we work with other caseworkers and other organizations because we don't just provide services to the 12 people who are part of Safe Haven, but to anybody who comes to us. And they do get help walking through those very difficult bureaucratic systems. You understand how frustrating it is and how dehumanizing it is. It really is. And it's very, very difficult. And let's not, for just 1 second, let's remember that anybody could become homeless in the flash of an eye. Mm-hmm. Something can happen to you, a health issue, lose your job, whatever. There are many ways, and I can't tell you how many people come and take advantage of our services, of showers and stuff on Monday. I know there are 4 PhDs who come regularly and take advantage of our services. Just because someone is unhoused doesn't mean that they have no worth or value, or that they're less than us. And so I've found that caseworkers, especially the people from unionization and Friends Indeed, really give a crap about people and really care deeply. And also for us, for the people that are part of the unhoused community, the county mobile clinic that comes and provides services has incredibly caring doctors and nurses who provide those services as well. But it is very difficult to get through those systems, and it just takes a lot of patience and perseverance from the case managers.
Great.
And encouragement, by the way, and encouragement. Don't give up. Don't give up. We're going to get this. And that's where people just say, the heck with this, and wander away. And that's what we try to keep people feeling.
In my case, my application, my online application for Cover California, it turns out that I should have used a Chrome browser to fill it out. It had a mistake in there that it had my household as 2 instead of 1. So it kicked me into the Medi-Cal system. Even though I put 1 in, it recorded 2. So if that happens to me, that can happen to somebody, so vulnerable. And so I'm glad to know you have. But who is helping with provide the legal services?
Public counsel. All Saints parishioners who are attorneys and public counsel, but it is organized by public counsel.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sure. Up at the Jackie Robinson Center, the second Saturday of every month from 9 to 12.
I wonder how many Christian ministers realize that when Jesus was asked, what do I have to do to join the kingdom? He did not say you have to wear a gold cross or symbol of me on a gold chain. He did not say you have to go to a place of worship every Sabbath, whatever day a week that is. He did not say you have to only sleep with people of the opposite gender. He said, if you see me hungry, you feed me, if you know. And I'm wondering to what extent you outreach to other Christian churches or interact with them. To what extent do you think, and how can we help? I mean, obviously, if we belong to a church, we should outreach to that. But how do we get other churches to realize that this is the way to go? Especially with what Mike was saying in answer to my last question, is you're worried about losing membership. And you have shown that your membership grows when you do such a program. To what extent do you think other churches even know about your success?
Well, we certainly try. Erica talked with the CCC, the Clergy Community Coalition. We did a presentation on that. I think there's, I wish more people would show up on Thursdays or come walk around and see it.
Or Mondays,
or Mondays even, yeah. I think there's a lot of fear. I think there's fear of property damage. I mean, even when we were, transitioning from the 60 people on campus to the 12, there was a lot of fear in our congregation of even having the 12. And I think a lot of it is sort of mythology about, those among us who are struggling with homelessness. And it's like this has made our campus more secure. What you don't want is unactivated space. Unactivated space is when bad behaviors happens. What we're trying to, what we're telling people about doing safe parking in the parking lot. That actually is going to make that parking lot a lot safer overnight because there'll be security, there'll be things going on. But I think there's, we're in a very fearful time right now. I think we have a lot of implicit bias that engages people among us who are struggling with homelessness. And again, I'll go back to proximity. I'll go back to Brian Stevenson. I know we've talked about it to people, but I really think it just sort of takes, people showing up and seeing it and us saying, yeah, you can do this on your campus too. You can pick whatever. If the number for us is 12, if the number for you is 4, great, do it for 4.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you don't even have to go to the city to get the housing navigator, because the one that we have funding for was designed to serve multiple campuses, and right now it's really not. So Erica, what would you add to that?
I encourage you to have people reach out to me. What would be great is if people want to come and visit on a Monday or a Thursday, and if I know they're coming, I'll they don't need to, but if they want to, let me know in advance and I'll watch for them and give them a tour and explain what's going on. But again, not ever necessary to have a reservation. We'd love for people to come, and I'm happy to share this information. I think that Mike's point that this can be done for 4 people, it can be done for 2 people.
2 people.
And there are plenty of organizations that provide outreach that I'm sure that you could get outreach workers who will work with you.
I can say I've taken the tour with Erica. I even got a haircut on the Monday that I was there.
Yes, you did.
And especially if you like a sort of a shortcut, it's a great place to get a haircut.
We actually have a different barber now. Shows up a little more reliably, and brings his little 4-year-old daughter with him, by the way. And you'd even get a better haircut.
I'll keep it in mind. It's getting a little shaggy.
Yeah.
Let's give Dave a shot here. He's been waiting a long time.
Well, thank you, Phil. And I apologize for being late, Erica and Mike. So I pardon me?
I said no need.
Okay. My question is, it comes out of a stereotyping that I do of people who are without housing. How do you find much mental illness among your population? And if you do, how do you deal with that?
I think the answer is yes. First of all, you can thank Ronald Reagan for a lot of that. That's just my own comment. But we're fortunate that we have a parishioner who works for the Department of Mental Health. And she has convinced her supervisor that she and a colleague should come spend every Monday morning at All-Saints. So they do. And she's kind of like everybody's abuelita. So she gets there's a lot of trust with her, and they offer, again, hospitality where people can go visit with them and talk with them. Recently she was able to stop a planned suicide, which was really, really incredible. And it's on that basis, with those kinds of stories, that the department allows them to keep coming every Monday. In addition, because these are professionals, they are able to refer people to the mental health team when the clinic is there, and they're able to identify those individuals who need medication and need a doctor's care versus a counselor's care. And so working hand in hand, those 2 teams together have had what I would say is great success. Also, I think I can't imagine living on the street and what my mental health would be if I were always trying to find a bush to sleep under or a park bench to sleep on. And I can't imagine. I think once people come and begin to feel the hospitality and are treated with respect and love, there's a softening that happens, a trust that builds with people. And I think that is part of what helps deal with some of those issues. Does it cure people? No, but at least the trust is there so that they'll take advantage of the mental health services that are available.
Yeah, I would like amen to everything Erica just said. And then just to add on to that, a couple things, which is, first of all, an amen of like, again, I get a bad night's sleep one night and I'm cranky. And so I think I would want to differentiate between situational depression, situational sort of things, and then things that are much more chemically imbalanced, although there is a link to those two things. You talked about sort of your bias. It's a very common bias. They've actually done studies on this. The incidence of mental illness, such as depression, bipolar disorder, things like that, among people, those among us experiencing homelessness, it's slightly higher than the general population, but not appreciably higher.
Right.
We have, people among us in all parts of our congregational life who are struggling with various kinds of mental illness. Now, what happens when you are experiencing homelessness, you lose your capacity to mask it. Because because like you add bad nutrition onto that, you add not getting enough sleep onto that, you add sort of things that we in our sort of the zeitgeist associate with mental illness, like a grown person walking around who hasn't bathed. There's something that fits the profile for us of someone who has mental illness. It may not mean that they do. So, I think there's a lot of fear that happens around those among us who are struggling with homelessness around mental illness. And the same thing about drug use. And people say, are you worried about drug use? I'm like, we've got plenty of drug users in our congregation.
Sure.
Most of them are sitting in the pews on Sunday morning. And so to say, and that's again, one of the things is just sort of like, it's, this is across the population. And so then the question is, as a community, how are we dealing with mental illness in the community? As a community, how are we dealing with substance abuse in the community? And not just sort of making this subset the identified patient, because statistically, it's just not true.
A great program. And the wonderful part is that any group or any church, or if they want to, all they have to do is come to you and you could mentor them.
Absolutely.
And support
Amen.
them. Yes.
Yes.
And I was just wondering, I'm just having strange things happening with the computer and phone. But anyway, how do you focus with, or do you have very many people who have children and work with the schools or like that?
That's a good question. It's rare that people come to us who have families, and when they do, we refer them to Union Station's Family Center. We don't have the facilities or abilities to work with families with children, but Union Station does. So that's what we're fortunate that Union Station has that family center, and we can refer people to that.
Yeah, and I will say that this is something that both Pasadena and LA County, and I think LA City has been good at this too. They prioritize getting children into hotels.
Yes.
And families with children, and so there really isn't a need for a program like Safe Haven for families, particularly with small children, because that's such a priority area of the city and the county, is to make sure that they get hotel vouchers and they get assistance with that, so we don't end up having children on the street. So it's something we're doing right.
By the way, and also, if you know of anybody who needs assistance, they can call 211.
Yes.
And that's a great way. And sometimes you have to wait on hold a little while, but the people who answer the phone, answer that line, are really gracious and helpful, especially for families, but for anybody. And we've had tremendous success with 211 helping people.
Let me handle my question here for a minute. This is with respect to the housing first model, which you say you're using, but I felt a little bit of disconnect about that when you talked about the covenant you have with your participants to stay off of drugs, etc. Could you clarify that for me?
Now that's on campus use, right, Erica?
Right, that's correct. Just on campus.
And really a big reason around that. I mean, again, we understand that people are, they have addictions. Again, a lot of people who are housed in our congregation have addictions and use drugs. the main reason that we say no drug use on campus, there's two main, at least for me, there's two main reasons. The first is that there may, we have had also people who are in recovery who are struggling to stay clean, and we want to provide a safe and hospitable environment for them. And then the second thing is, where there's drug use, there's often weapons. Where there's drug dealing, there's often weapons. And we're a gun-free campus. And that's where we really want to say, look, if you need to use, great, go off campus and use and then come back. And we still have sort of behavioral things, but frankly, most of the drugs, if people are using them, they actually make them more docile. But what we want to do is, and this was something that we learned, and it was something that we established when we still had like 50 or 60 people on campus, is, we weren't going to say, no, you can't, you've got to be clean. But what we didn't want was drug dealing, drug use on campus, because the experience is both it creates an unsafe space for people who are in recovery, and that also that weapons follow that. Now, what we continually offer is if there's people who are struggling with addiction, we offer resources. Not a lot of people take you up on it, but you got to meet people where they are. And again, to me, I'm actually opposed to programs like this that say you have to be clean, because I think it's I think it's a hypocritical double standard. Because how many of the people who are doing this, have either legal or illegal drug issues who are running these programs?
Well, I used to work for 211, and I so happy that you recognize what a wonderful group of people they are.
Very much so.
Very caring people. We just really, most of the people were very empathetic and kind. So that was a wonderful place to work. I'm thinking about places to go to the bathroom. I mean, I know I get quite disturbed if I get off the freeway and go to a place where there's no bathroom, like thinking that they do have a bathroom. So what do you provide in the way of a place to go to the bathroom?
In our parking, there's a porta potty the city of Pasadena pays for that's in our parking lot. It is maintained every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday by the provider. They clean it, steam clean it, haul away the trash, provide new toilet paper and stuff. And then once the safe parking program is instituted at All-Saints, which we anticipate will be June 1st, there will be an additional porta potty for that area of the parking lot as well. So people are welcome to use it, and we try to maintain it.
Complex question. If I heard right, Erica, 90 people over in some period have entered the program. About a third of those 32 have entered permanent housing.
Correct.
I wanted to understand that against the following background. Many people who are houseless have concerns about their right of privacy, their fear of change, their concern about moving into housing with strangers. There's a very complex syndrome around that. In fact, my background in the ACLU, and in New York, the ACLU had to defend the right of houseless people not to be taken off the streets or in settings in which they felt safe and forced to go into housing. So it's a complicated question, but I'm so eager for both of your insights. How do you explain, 90 registrants, 32, a third go into permanent housing? I mean, is that a success story or is that a setback? And how do you respect those privacy interests and those complex concerns that many houseless people have?
Well, a couple of things. Number one, I think that a lot of the people who did not get into permanent housing are people who didn't follow the rules that they need to. There are some rules, and I explained the process. Every single person's treated exactly the same way, the same process for everybody. But for instance, people don't show up for the weekly meetings on Thursdays and haven't notified us in advance, and we remind them gently, and then they keep not coming to the meetings, and we've terminated people for doing that. A lot of people walk away. A lot of people don't want the structure. They don't want to work with, or they're unable to bring themselves to work with the housing navigators who are there to, and the case managers who are there to help them. We've experienced quite a few people just walk away, and it's a shame, but we do everything we can to keep people and keep them in the program. In terms of their privacy, the case managers have the information and work with them with their personal information, their personal financial information, gathering all the paperwork and the things that they need. I don't do that at all. It's on purpose. They take care of everything, and their privacy is maintained. And we, in terms of keeping track of people and sharing their information, we have a document that we share to the staff at All Saints that has the picture and the name of the participants only, and that's all that it has, just so the staff will know who belongs on the campus, who belongs sleeping there. And we're about to change that, Mike. I haven't even told you this, to remove people's last names and only put their first initial.
Good idea. Especially since we're sharing it more broadly now.
Yeah, well, and recognizing HIPAA laws.
HIPAA, yeah.
Extremely careful. So, but I would say that the people the 2/3 that didn't get into housing just didn't have the gumption, as the word my father always used, to hang in there to get through the steps to do it. It takes time. I mean, there is one gentleman named Angel, Mike knows him, who's been on the street for 10 years and really struggled with structure, but he has a 10-year-old, 12-year-old daughter, and he has a relationship with her mother, and a cordial relationship. And it was important to him to get into housing so that his daughter could come spend the weekend with him. And so he kept that, and we try to keep people focused on the goal here, what's important to them. And he went through all the steps. He was with us for about a year and a half, going to weekly mental health meetings that we gave him a private room within our offices where he could take those phone calls. And he finally got through all the steps. We were able to get him into an ADU in Altadena and provided the furniture for him and a TV and all the things that he needed. And he called me one day and said, "My daughter just spent the weekend with me," and he was crying. He said, I can't tell you, you kept telling me to hang in there, and I did, and now she can come and spend the weekend with me. So a lot of times, finding out what's most important to people is what we can do to keep them involved in the program and keep them staying there to get through these difficult processes. And again, housing first is what we want to do, and we try to use that model to get them in, but not all facilities will accept that and do have some paperwork and things that they have to complete to get through. So.
Okay, we have to wrap up here. Dave, did you make a comment or question before we wrap up?
Yeah, quick question. Does All Saints have a presence on the campus of Alcoholics Anonymous?
Yes, we do have AA meetings, and I think we have ACOA meetings too, don't we, Mike?
We do. We have ACOA meetings. We have Sexual Compulsives Anonymous meetings. Right. We have several different recovery ministries.
And if you go to the AA website, you can see the schedule of all of the local meetings everywhere. Some meetings are virtual, some meetings are in person. I know for us, we have through Lakata, we have a Tuesday night meeting, for instance. I'm a friend of Bill myself, and and there are regular meetings there. So, but I would encourage you or anyone you know to go to the AA website to find local meetings.
And do any of your safe haven community take advantage of the AA meetings?
I have no idea.
From
It's
time to
anonymous.
time.
That's for the anonymous company.
That's what they, yeah.
We here at Orange Grove meeting host, I think, 6 different 12-step programs on campus. AA, NA, and Al-Anon. And we're very proud to do that. They're good tenants.
Bill, that's what I wanted to alert Mike. You may recall that after a closing circle and a few announcements, etc., we close with a prayer and having us sent off for the week ahead. When we call on you, would you do that, Mike?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I just like to say that this is not an announcement. I just couldn't get my reaction button going quickly enough. I'm sorry. But I just wanted to add a personal note. I first discovered All-Saints Church almost 50 years ago. And for many years, it was home base for not only my search for peace and justice, but that of so many others. And I see that All Saints has not changed, not one whit. If anything, is even stronger. So thank you so much. And secondly, I just want to say that I have 2 family members who have been very close to me, one being my grandfather, another being my son. My grandfather was on the streets, alcoholic, many years, and was finally murdered on the streets. And my son was on the streets, terribly mentally ill and self-medicating. And he found an organization just like this. And he has now become a part of that organization, Mental Health America, and is a manager of a program very similar to what you're describing. So there's something so profoundly important and redemptive. And Mike, when you talked about proselytizing love, I mean, that just got right to the essence of what you and what we want to be about. So thank you so much for this program. Very touching.
Thank you.
I've been thinking this and wondering what I should say it. But Mike, someday we're going to talk about you like we talk about George.
I'm honored, but yeah, no.
Anyway, okay, Mike, you want to close us out?
Well, it's just everybody. I invite you to take a deep breath in and put it out. Holy God, your spirit is all around us. With every breath, we breathe it in. With every breath out, we exhale you so that others may breathe you in. Your spirit connects all of us in our many circumstances and identities. Thank you for your Holy Spirit of love. Thank you for the innumerable ways that Spirit gets incarnated in our life and work. We ask that as we breathe in your Spirit, it softens our hearts, makes us even more compassionate, that it strengthens our resolve, makes us even more persistent, that it brings us joy, surprises us with joy. Be present with us in every breath in and every breath out as we go through this day. And when we lie down tonight, give us that most holy gift of restorative rest. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. I want to thank Phil for adeptly facilitating today and for Rick's beautiful reflection. Mike and Erica, you are among us. You are among us whether you're on this screen or not. Others here know that at this moment, I usually tell newcomer speakers that they are now card-carrying members of ICUJP. But in
Amen.
your cases, we are punching your card and
That's
update.
right.
We are so grateful
Thank you.
for everything you do, that you wake up every morning to do this good work. It's immensely important. And what an opportunity we had to showcase it today. We will push out this recording
Right.
to reach more and more people. Rick always supplements that with links to All Saints website, and I'd put in a word to encourage you to produce some videos to have
Yeah, we will.
the people who are impacted by this work, some of your wonderful success stories, and have them tell those stories on your website and on social media other than TikTok.
Mhm.
So be well, be kind to each other.